We recognize that the Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society gathers on the land of the Western Abenaki people. We respect the Abenaki's spiritual relationship to this land and seek to honor the living traditions of the Abenaki. We humbly hope to learn from them how we can better live in harmony, peace, and justice.
Good morning and welcome to the CVUUS remote worship service for November 1st, 2020. I hope everyone was able to successfully navigate the fall time change, and this is the first time we've showed up this morning. My name is Julia Chant, and I will serve as worship associate for Reverend Barnaby Fetter. If you are joining us for the first time, special welcome, and please be in touch with us so we can send you our newsletter. If there are any milestones that have not been submitted yet, please submit them in the chat box today, and stay with us for virtual coffee hour after the service. And now for a few of the pathways to connection. There will be a UU Election Day space spiritual grounding from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on November 3rd, where ministers from around the country will be offering a space on Zoom for reflection, prayer, and comfort. A different minister will lead each 15-minute segment. Reverend Barnaby will host the 5 to 6 p.m. hour. And there's information in the newsletter where to go. We are starting the fall new UU classes this week. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., Reverend Barnaby will lead the group in a get acquainted sharing of the diverse spiritual journeys that have brought us together. On Thursday at 5 p.m., he will lead discussions about the wide range of beliefs you might encounter in a 21st century UU congregation. Please email him today at Reverend Barnaby at CVUUS.org if you'd like to participate. The classes are directed at non-members, but open to everyone. So, one second. So our call to worship today is by Gretchen Haley, Forged in the Fire of Our Coming Together. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasped at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes and forwarded emails, as if the new zodiac, capable of forecasting all that life may be yet bring our way, as if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promises of making sense or turning out the way we thought, as if we were not also actors in this unfolding story. For this hour, we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from the needing to know, the yearning to have it all figured out, and also the burden of believing we either have the control or none. Here in our song and our silence, our stories and our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root. That is courage, forged in the fire of our coming together and felt in the spirit that comes alive in this act of faith, that we believe still a new world is possible, that we are creating it already here and now. Come, let us worship together. We gather in this time of uncertainty, full of unknowns. As angst closes in upon us, we light this chalice with a flame that draws us together. With this flame, we cut through the darkness of isolation and are warmed by the fires of our interconnection. For this moment, this radical moment, we find a certainty with the knowable bounds of love and community.
Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to seek what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. And may we walk in peace. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to seek what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. And may we walk Good morning, everybody. I invite you to take a breath with me. So I find that at times when I am feeling anxious or worried or angry or just have strong emotions that feel hard, that taking a breath can really help. Taking a few, and breathing is great in that way because it's so easy, right? We can do it anywhere. We don't need anything to do it except our own selves. So let's take one more breath together. So these are kind of anxious days, huh? Yesterday we had a Halloween that was, some people maybe did it kind of the same way they have, although hopefully they wore a mask. But my kids stayed home. And I know of a lot of other kids that stayed home also. So we went through kind of a funny Halloween. We have an election on Tuesday. And most of the adults and a lot of kids, I also know, are feeling really anxious about it, thinking about it a lot. And so I've been thinking about things that comfort me because I'm feeling that way too. And I've been thinking about stuff that comforts me and what helps me when I feel that way. So some of the things that help me: breathing, talking to other people, especially people that I know will kind of cheer me up. Reading distracting stuff, not the news. Listening to music, singing, looking at little videos of animals in cute outfits. So, what comforts all of you? Take a moment and think for a second. And if you want to type something in the chat, those of you who are in Zoom, feel free. Or a couple things. If you're watching this at home or on a video, maybe you could say it out loud or say it to somebody next to you. Sometimes it's nice hearing what comforts other people because you'll get good ideas. Making bread, cooking, I'm seeing in the Zoom. I'm not going to read them out loud, just a few. Hot bath. So this actually makes me think of a story. A while ago, I heard of a story about a woman named Leanne Loricello. She runs this animal rescue group called Goats of Anarchy. Best name ever. I want to be in a band someday named Goats of Anarchy. And she helps goats and other animals that, for whatever reason, can't just live in a farm in a normal way. So she took in a goat one day named Polly. And Polly had been born blind and also had some things wrong with her brain. So she was a really anxious little goat who couldn't see where she was going. And Leanne took her into her actual house while she was getting used to things. And the goat would walk around the house and it would make these crying, baaing sounds. And Leanne said it would go into the corner. Polly would go into the corner and chew, like kind of lick and chew in the corners of rooms. And it was just really sad. And she was feeling very worried about the goat and feeling like she really wanted to come up with a way to comfort Polly. And she just wasn't sure. So she was in a store one day, walking around a store like TJ Maxx, and she saw this little costume for a little kid and thought, I wonder if Polly, the goat, might actually like being kind of wrapped in stuff, because a lot of us sometimes find that really comforting, right? It's like when you wrap up in a blanket or you lie next to somebody, it's babies being swaddled, right? All of these things that can just make us feel kind of safe and secure. And animals also like that too. So she bought this outfit and she brought it home. The outfit was not made for a goat. Oh, what? Huh? Look, here it is. What are the chances? I just found this. And look, it's a little duck costume. So she brought this duck costume home and the goat totally loved it. Has like a little hood. There was just something about it that made the goat feel comforted and safe. And it turned out that Polly really likes wearing clothes. I'm going to see if I can. Yeah, so this is a close-up of the goat. You can see the duck. So she ended up buying Polly a lot more clothes. And, it doesn't fix things, right? I mean, things that comfort us, it doesn't take our anxiety away forever. We don't feel better forever. That's not the way comforting works, but it just helps us in that moment. And it helps us sometimes do work that can really help with things later. So, Polly still had anxiety, but this really helped it. I'm just feeling, remember I said that one of the things that comforts me is animals in little outfits. So I only have a few more. I know, unicorn. Another thing she found that comforted Polly was being next to other goats. So this is Polly with another goat that had just come into the house and also was kind of anxious. And the two of them really loved being together. Best ever. Last picture. So, oh man, goats and outfits are the best. So those are some things that comfort me. Those are some things that comfort Polly. People have shared many things in the chat that comforted them. I just want to read a couple more. Playing hockey, outdoor time, petting my dog, being with friends, laughing so hard it hurts just a little bit, yoga, walking. Lots of people mentioned dogs. Listening to Hamilton, yes. Reading out loud. What a great list. And maybe later in coffee hour, people can share more too. So as we go into this week, full of great uncertainty and a lot of anxiety for a lot of people about big questions with election things and other things, my hope for you, everybody, is that you will find something that comforts you and you will do it every day. And if you need some ideas, just look in the chat or send me an email and I'm happy to send you some more goat pictures. And I'm going to end with the chorus of a song. This is a song I'm going to do with all of you at some point. We'll do a sing along. It's a song by Coco Love Alcorn, who's a Canadian songwriter. And this song is called Tiny Lights. And this is just the chorus that I leave you with today. We are tiny lights shining so bright in a world we know is gonna be all right. We are tiny lights that sparkle and glow in a world much bigger than we'll ever know. And we know this world is gonna be all right, 'cause we have these tiny lights. Love you and miss you.
Thank you so much, Poppy, for that beautiful reflection, which, as folks will see, dovetails with where I was going this week too. But before we get there, there are some people for whom things don't go right all the time, and our safety nets are very important. And our donee this month is a very special kind of safety net. And I want to introduce Linda Fugelstadt to tell you about it.
Thank you very much for inviting me today. I am from Alyssum in Rochester, Vermont, and we're a peer-hosted holistic alternative program where people can come to work on mental health struggles. We have 2 beds in a home-like setting. People can come and spend time to work one-on-one with staff. We were open 24/7 before COVID. Now we're open Monday through Friday, and we clean and sanitize on the weekends. But we do open occasionally on the weekends if people, that's the only time they can come because of their job or their family commitments. We are peer hosted, and what that means is that to work here, staff have to have lived mental health experience, as in something going on for themselves, like they've experienced depression, anxiety, bipolar, or a combination of things that have gone on with their families, just so that they understand what's going on for people and how to relate, in a meaningful way. There's no power over under dynamic here. It's everybody is treated equally with respect. And before COVID, we got to hug people, and I really miss that. I hope we're going to be able to do that again soon. We offer a place for people to work on whatever's going on with them after trauma or being overwhelmed, or if they're hearing voices, or if they've had coping skills that haven't really been working for them. We try to ask them to talk about more healthy ways maybe that they can work on things. We just meet people where they're at, and we are trained in nonviolent communication, trauma, hearing voices. We use the intentional peer support model. We come from many different backgrounds here, which makes it a really great mix of staff. We also do trainings for the community on things like hearing voices or other mental health topics. We invite other agencies to come in and join us if they like, or we can go to them. Before COVID, we could anyways. We did some training with like the psychiatric nurses at the Rutland Hospital, different places, wherever people would like to know what we're doing and how it works. People come to us from places like the hospital and Brattleboro Retreat, and we've been blessed to have like a 97% success rate so far, and having people use some of those programs less after coming to Alyssum. We are funded by the Vermont Department of Mental Health, and of course, if we're saving them money, they like that. We hope that in the future that we'll be able to open other Alyssums. But for now, we offer a safe place for people to come when they're overwhelmed. We talk about what their needs are, what brought them here, what they want to change. We work on goals. We have what's called a WRAP plan, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, where people can have goals and they can talk about how they want life to be like when they go home, so they can feel better, feel safer. We're eligible to all Vermonters ages 18 and up. We have really great food here. We help people work on action plans for when they get home and get back to their life, connecting with family and their communities. We work a lot on communication because, of course, that's what helps all of us get our needs met. And we work on good nutrition, healthy boundaries, good hygiene, and we're very blessed to have Prince, our therapy dog, here. He's a little miniature poodle, and everybody adores him, and he always gets better ratings than the rest of us. We have 2 bedrooms here for guests. It's like a home-like setting. We are surrounded by a great big beautiful barn next door with cows mooing. We have a fire pit outside. We have picnic tables, a gazebo. We have a cornfield that goes all the way around us, and beautiful yards and gardens that guests can work in if they want. There's a conference room, which is where I am now, with these beautiful cranes out here. There's 1,000 of them that guests and staff made together. People can come out here for a peaceful place to sit with the plants and the beautiful views outside. We have a table inside for people to sit together to have family style meals. They can cook together. We have the river close by. People can walk down and bring rocks up to do art projects and letting go projects. We do meditation and yoga also, like people mentioned earlier. And by the way, I have goats and I love mine. They do make you laugh and feel better. We know that people know themselves the best, so we try to treat people with dignity and respect and help them find skills that will follow them home and a lot of people feel like they become family here. When people leave here, they can still call like a warm line. We have people that are still calling from 9 years ago. I've been here since before we opened, which this is our 9th year now, and helped set up our program. What drew me to Alyssum was that we had board members that had this as a wish for many years. And finally, it was becoming a reality just when I got to hear about them. And I saw in their ad that they were holistic and alternative. And I was in college studying for my mental health degree. And I really didn't see anything that quite fit what felt right for me. I grew up with a mom with a lot of mental health struggles. And the way she was treated was not the way that I felt like other people should be treated. And there's wonderful agencies out there, but there's also some that are not. And I wanted to be part of something that where people would get treated with love and consideration, and that where people were kinder to each other. And my mom had multiple personalities and a lot of trauma, and she got lots and lots of medications thrown her way. And they really weren't working for her. And the last 10 years of my life, I got the best years that I ever got with her when I met some of the people she worked with and really found out what the agencies do and helped her get off some medications and just keep what was working. And we find a lot of people come here with those same experiences. So we like to offer a kind, caring place where people can talk about what works and what doesn't, where they can just connect with other people and be open and honest and real. And we want to help people manage tough emotions without thinking that medications are the only answer. We do advocate for whatever works, whatever is working for somebody, that's great. But if it's not working, we want to help them find out what their choices are. When I heard that it was holistic, I wanted to know what that meant. So I was really excited to be offered to come here at the beginning and to be able to say, hey, I've been there and this is what worked for me. This is what didn't work, what's happening for you. And it's really nice to have those conversations with people. And the first time that I heard that a person, when they got hugged and held here, when they came, they said it was the first hug they'd had in 3 years. And I cried, and they cried, and we hugged again. And that's been a big healing part of this program. And so it's kind of tough now to have to wear a mask and keep some space, but we have to do air hugs, and let people know that they're cared about. And we're looking forward to getting back to the hugging part. But we have a great team of people here, a collection of people that just really want to support each other. And we're being a part of peer group so that people can go home feeling more hopeful. And I really love what we do here. I appreciate being invited to be able to talk about Alyssum and for considering us as a group that you might contribute to what we do here. One thing that we are lacking in as a nonprofit is having an enrichment fund, which would be like to add to our program, like musical instruments, which people love to make music and laugh and sing and play together here. And even the dog joins in. There's a video on our website if you want to hear the dog singing. Things like snowshoes for people to get outside, cross-country skis. Sometimes people come without a warm jacket, and we always try to scrounge one from somewhere. But having a fund to do some of those things would be amazing. Sometimes people come without warm boots or hat or mittens. Instruments has definitely been something, our staff, we have a few people with talent that play instruments. I'm not one of them, but guitars, a ukulele, we're surprised how many people used to play instruments and they just haven't been invited to do that in a long time. So that's a really beautiful thing when people all of a sudden by surprise make music together here. So having more of that would be amazing. Helping people get outside right now during COVID, things for winter stuff and outside activities, any of that would be a blessing. And thank you very much for inviting me, Reverend Barnaby. And If you have any questions about our program, I'm definitely glad to answer any questions. And my email is linda@alyssum.org. If anybody wants to send an email and ask more, you're welcome to. And I'm really excited to hear about this group. It sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Ellen, I think we're ready for your sharing about the Caring Network.
Okay. Should I just start right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's nice to see so many familiar faces. And earlier this week, Barnaby asked me if I would be willing to talk about my recent, the help I've recently gotten from the Caring Network. About 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to make soup for another member of the congregation. And then I went and broke my arm. And so realized I wouldn't be able to help do that. So I called Michelle, who is part of the Caring Network, and she was the organizer of the soup train, to say I was unfortunate that I wasn't going to be able to help. And then she said, well, how can we help you? And it hadn't really crossed my mind that that the Caring Network could help me. But I was thinking how desperately I wanted to shower, but I had this splint on my arm. So I said, well, if you could do anything to find, somebody must have invented a bag to go over a cast. And so Michelle said, I will be on that and I will get back to you. And sure enough, the next day she had found this contraption, and it worked really well. And then she said, now what else can we do? And I said, well, I can't really drive. So she said, well, we'll find someone to drive you to your orthopedic appointment. I said, that would be great. And so she helped me do that. And then, within about the same week, suddenly I got a piece of mail that didn't have a little window in the envelope, but was handwritten. And it was a lovely card that Susan Humphreys had sent me from the Caring Network to just make me, feel better and know that somebody was out there caring about me. I was talking with a friend who doesn't go to any church, and I was telling her about the way the Caring Network had helped me. And she said she was kind of jealous that I had this community that was willing to come and step in. And as I was thinking about Barnaby asking me to talk to you, I realized, a lot of it is really simple, what people can do to help. Someone offered to drive me to the grocery store because I couldn't drive. The grocery store is a half a mile from me, but it was really helpful to have someone do that. And someone else helped load my snow tires in my car and drive me to where I can get them put on. So one thing that was so easy was just opening a pickle jar. I don't have any twist in my hand, and there was this unopened jar. So it doesn't really have to be complicated. You don't have to cook a whole meal, although that's been really yummy. It's been nice to be on the other end of the caring committee. I've cooked a lot of meals over my time at CVUUS, and it's nice to have that come back. One of the little outcomes of this special sleeve to cover casts, I said, I only used it twice. Somebody else might be able to use it. And so that sort of set into motion a conversation with the network and the library about maybe there's some other things like that could be made available to other people who have these hopefully one-time needs for something like a cast cover. And so they're looking into how to set that up, and that'll be another way for us to connect when we're not able to be physically together and see each other. And now that our visits for capital campaigns and for right now for the annual canvas are over, there's different ways we can help one another going forward. And so we might have a little collection of small durable medical equipment that we could share and be part of. And I think all of this together reminds me of this is just how we create beloved community and stay connected and help each other. So thanks to the Caring Network, and don't be afraid to reach out and have them help you. It's really lovely.
So thank you very much, Ellen. Someday we'll have a milestone during our milestone celebration about the creation of a unit of the library where you could check out medical devices. This is the way we amplify the work we do. This is the part of the service where we do have our milestones and passages, and we celebrate whatever news I've heard during the week. Now, each week there's lots of unspoken joys and concerns and milestones, and we always leave a time of silence in our service for you to enter into prayer or meditation or whatever gets you in touch with what's really on your heart this week. And at the end of that time of silence, you'll hear a beautiful rendition of the hymn Wayaya. Feel free to sing along, but make sure you're muted because it won't come out the same way together if we're all singing from separate places. So now I invite you into that silence.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. 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 Oh yeah, yeah.
Our readings today are two poems by the 20th century Argentine poet, the 20th century Argentine poet Roberto Juarez. The first is a translation by Mary Crow. The second is a translation from the original Spanish by W.S. Merwin, which will be read during the sermon. Every word is a doubt, every silence another doubt. However, the intertwining of both, let us breathe. All sleeping is a sinking down, all waking another sinking. However, the intertwining of both, let us rise up again. All life is a form of vanishing, all death another form. However, the intertwining of both, let us be a sign in the void.
Thank you, Julia. A famous preacher once said to his colleagues that none of us can deliver a great sermon every Sunday, but we owe the congregation an effort to address a great concern. And gratitude is my great concern today. Poppy mentioned our anxiety in her Time for All Ages. Let me just name some of the sources of it that I feel. Our nation is divided over environmental policies, civil rights, income inequality, and immigration issues. We're deeply divided over where to go for reliable information. We are heartsick from arguing over what character traits we find essential in our leaders. And then COVID-19 hangs over everything like a suffocating smoke. We're now in a phase where the death rate in this country alone is the equivalent of having a 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center in Washington happening every third day. As I heard a nurse in rural Wisconsin say on NPR this week, we don't know how long this will go on. We don't know how to fix this. That's the scary part. And as all our reading says, all of this, life and death, is intertwining. It's braided together in a way that gives life meaning in the vastness of space and time, or as Juarez put it, lets us be a sign in the void. Now, we saw today's twist in the braid coming last summer when our donations team chose mental health as a focus for November and eventually settled on a LISM to recognize mental health. At that meeting in the summer, I said, we're all going to be different kinds of crazy by November 1st. And I got an amen. And so gratitude began taking shape as my foremost concern for today's sermon, because I was asking myself, how do we nurture gratitude in the face of so much anxiety, pain, despair, and uncertainty? I see this as a survival question because gratitude unleashes what is best in us. As the writer Kristen Armstrong puts it, when we focus on our gratitude, the tide of disappointment goes out and the tide of love rushes in. Another writer I've quoted to you before, Melanie Beatty, puts it this way: gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. Gratitude can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. But how do we keep gratitude close to our hearts and minds when there are so many frightening calls on our attention, and when so many daily tasks like educating children have become so demanding? How do we do it when our instinctive go-to on buttons for gratitude, like hugging friends and holding hands to sing together, are currently off limits? Well, we can start by doing more things that are fun. And it's not escapism in this environment. Having fun lets you see more clearly what makes you grateful. Having fun gives you more energy to spread life-saving joy to others because, as Poppy said, it makes you comfortable, it makes you laugh, it opens you up to the people around you. So Poppy made this point in her story about a goat dressed up like a duck and in other ways. Coincidentally, I came across my own animal equivalent this week. And Margie, can you please put up that slide? So let me explain what's going on here. And I think, folks, if you want to make it bigger, you can probably click on it. There's a freelance food writer in Georgia whose uncle in Ohio used the time on his hands in April when his business shut down because of COVID-19 to make a miniature picnic table. And he mailed it to the freelance food writer, telling her she could hang it as a squirrel feeder. But when it arrived in a large box, the food writer, Angela Hansberger, simply put it on her patio with some old walnuts. And almost instantly, a chipmunk appeared and seated itself at the table and gobbled up the nuts. The chipmunk returned every day, and Angela was so intrigued she began crafting miniature meals. She soon named it Thelonious Monk. With her husband's help, Thelonious was introduced to many new dining experiences, like a miniature sushi bar that she made fancy little versions of sushi that would be amenable to the chipmunk's appetite. And then with a little bit of change in the decorations, that became a beer joint where she could put out nuts that the chipmunk liked. Thelonious has also dined at a fancy little white tablecloth table with a tiny battery-operated candlelight. And Angela has gone the extra mile in cooking for him. For instance, it took a lot of trial and error to create tiny taco shells, but once I did, he seemed to marvel at them before eating them with his paws, just like a person would, she reported in an article she wrote for the high-end food magazine Bon Appetit. Angela began using Instagram to document her quest to overcome her own pandemic fears and anxieties through helping Thelonious make the restaurant scene. More and more people joyfully noticed. When she and her husband ordered takeout one night, the boxed food arrived with a much smaller box inside labeled Thelonious. And that little box contained carrot curls, tiny chanterelles, and hazelnuts. In her report to Bon Appetit, Angela wrote, "The existential dread of a global pandemic is pervasive. I find myself often caught in a state of hopelessness and helplessness, unable to celebrate newborn babies, birthdays, graduations, and marriages. unable to properly grieve losses or sit with a close friend undergoing chemo, worried about the chefs and restaurant workers who rely on our collective ability to go out and eat. News is bleak, and we are all feeling physically and socially isolated. But every day, there is also Thelonious, a chipmunk who sits down to eat in a world without a doomful election and a deadly virus. This is how I am coping, laying out a picnic, watching tiny hands hold my tiny food. It's silly, yes, but sometimes silliness is needed. Now, some folks in this congregation are pros at creating fun that nurtures comfort, hope, and gratitude. I'm thinking, for instance, of Kate Gridley's free drawing prompts that she emails out to friends of varying art experience and skills, and the results she shares with the group. I'm thinking too of the berry picking and other outings Mike and Liam Greenwood have organized to punctuate the class they have run celebrating the Abenaki lunar calendar while reading Robin Wall Kimmerer's Braiding Sweetgrass. I can't wait to see what happens when our annual no rehearsal Christmas pageant becomes a Zoom event. There's a lot of happy zaniness families generally too overwhelmed to attend this Sunday worship can provide straight from their homes. I'm expecting a lot of video shepherds with cats, dogs, rabbits, and more this year, something we could never have done in the sanctuary. And maybe however many Jesus figures we end up with, we'll get some extra contemporary gifts from the scattered wise people. We'll see. But there are also serious ways to invite gratitude into our lives. And I think we need to think about them. It's there to be noticed when we deliberately ally ourselves with the needs of marginalized people. For instance, our Jason DeKet Hoffman, who handles communications for the college's Center for Community Engagement, has let me know this week that there's an opportunity for us to support students at the college who are concerned about their personal safety this coming week. Jason says the college is recruiting small groups of faculty, staff, and community members to this end. On election day and Wednesday, and in the evening all week, the groups will be out on College Street and Route 30 in support of any student who might encounter or fear encountering harassment or intimidation because they look different than the average white person in Middlebury. These groups will be equipped with radios to quickly contact campus security if anything worrisome seems to be developing. Please contact me or Jason if you want information about this opportunity to be of comfort to those who feel vulnerable. The fact that Jason felt we could be called upon for this help is something new in my life to be grateful for. Even if only a few of us can participate, it embodies our belief that compassion is one of the three sisters of love, along with justice and beauty. In general, all of us can benefit from seeking a deeper faith that what we encounter, however terrifying, always contains reassuring possibilities that over time are just as real. That is the point of the other Roberto Juarez poem I chose for this morning, and I want to ask Julia to read it now.
The bell is full of wind, though it does not ring. The bird is full of flight, though it is still. The sky is full of clouds, though it is alone. The world is full of voice, though no one speaks it. Everything is full of fleeing, though there are no roads. Everything is fleeing towards its presence.
So maybe you recognize this poem as a reading in our hymnal. It's rarely used in our worship, though. And to be honest, it never made much sense to me until this time of pandemic. Juarez names things as present that are not apparent at the moment. The wind that will ring the bell, the flight to come of a perched bird, the sounds of voices that will break the silence. As a Buddhist might put it, the future is already here. You sometimes hear the phrase, that new vase of yours is already broken. Juarez tells us all these other things are also near at hand, so near that they are in essence part of the present, not a separate future. But here's the key. Within this present, everything is fleeing toward what isn't visible. Now that word fleeing tricked me for a long time, and maybe that's why I never used this poem. I sort of immediately envisioned people racing for their lives away from a forest fire or a war zone or some other disaster. But in reality, when you stop and think about it, flight is often painstaking and repeatedly interrupted. My wife Michelle's family fled the Nazis who invaded Belgium in May of 1940, but it took 14 months until they could reach safety in Cuba. Flight from COVID might be observing a lockdown and always adhering to mask wearing protocols. It might be the frontline responder work of a nurse in Wisconsin, fleeing toward a day not yet in sight when the immediate COVID-19 threat to her community will end. So I want to ask you this morning to think of fleeing as the urgent emotion with which we act and move toward life-giving love. An urgent emotion with which we act and move toward life-giving love. It's not a description of how rapidly we move. It's the urgent emotion there moving us there. Let's presume of each other that even when we are not showing or celebrating gratitude in ways that are visible to others, we are still fleeing towards its presence. And we are helping each other not to falter. We exist as a congregation to help everyone experience the gratitude that lets the tide of disappointment ebb and the tide of love flow in. May we be comforted by that. May we be grateful to be in that spot. And may we be together through these hard times. May it be so, and blessed be. As you go forth this week, may you know that wherever you see darkness, there is also the sweetness present of the knowledge of what it can become, and that we know how to get there. Heaven knows where we're going, but we'll know we'll get there following the path of love, through creating joy, through making justice, through making beautiful things, and always showing compassion. May it be so. And see you soon.